Before we begin, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. This webcast is designed to be interactive between you and the presenters. The webcast console you are looking at can be completely customized. You can resize or move any of the windows that you have open. If you have any questions during the webcast, you can click on the Q&A widget at the bottom and submit your question. All questions from this webcast will be captured and our speakers will answer throughout the presentation. If you are experiencing any technical difficulties, please visit the webcast help guide by clicking on the question mark icon below the presentation window. The help guide covers common technical issues. I would now like to turn over this presentation to our speaker, Anna Donnelly. The floor is yours.
Hello, and thanks for joining today. My name is Anna Donnelly. I am a services product manager here at Insight, specializing in Microsoft Modern Work. And today we are going to talk about maximizing the return on investment and the value in Microsoft 365 E5 licensing. We talk to a lot of clients who purchase Microsoft 365 E5, usually for one or two solutions, if it's Microsoft Defender, or if it is perhaps productivity related, but they, in a lot of cases, are not taking advantage of everything that is there. And in spite of that, we are hearing from our clients that they are really trying to cut costs and eliminate redundant solutions. That is like their number one priority. They're trying to get best of breed protection and productivity. And then they want a simple to use solution. They want to eliminate complexity in their environment. And Microsoft 365 really empowers you to do all of this. In particular, when you start talking about cutting costs, eliminating redundant solutions and complexity, that is really where Microsoft 365 shines. And you will hear a lot from Microsoft about empowering you to do more with less. Right, so if you think about all of the solutions that your organization demands, so whether that's core security and compliance controls, to the management layer, so how you are managing operating systems and devices, productivity solutions that your end users are relying on, and the experiences they are expecting from you every day. And then if you think about all of the time and money that you're spending in order to get all of these things to work together, right? If you have all of these different disparate solutions, it adds complexity to an already complex solution. But Microsoft 365 allows you to do all of these things through an integrated solution that allows you to save on licensing costs. And what Microsoft is telling us through their Forrester study is that you can save 60% in your licensing costs if you're taking advantage of everything that's there. And you'll see this thing, I'll keep saying it about Microsoft 365 empowering you to do more with less. A lot of that is buried in the Zero Trust Foundation, simplified endpoint management and productivity and collaboration. And this is how all of this is brought to life. So before we jump into the details, just need you to understand that this can meet you where you are. So if you are concerned about the level of effort, the time that it's going to take to get you to use everything in E5, there are things that you can do first that will give you a tremendous return on investment that aren't necessarily as complicated as others. So it could be that you need to talk about protecting sensitive data, that you need to secure your identities first, right? These things could be priorities, but maybe you just want to talk about engaging your employees and receiving some productivity gains that are going to give you ROI. So it will meet you wherever you are at. But the first thing that we want to talk about are Zero Trust Foundations. Zero Trust is essentially that everybody in your environment needs to prove that they should be there, right? Their credentials, their identity, very important. And then beyond that, that they have access to the right things, that, all of the things that we're hearing about in the news, right? From malware to ransomware attacks, right? Everything that's in the Microsoft 365 E5 SKU works together to prevent that and gives you a means for your end user to securely collaborate. So whether that's devices or the operating system, everything that's built into Windows 11 to help your folks be more secure. So the traditional security pieces that we would associate with Microsoft 365 security. So whether that's Azure Active Directory, which is about to be Entra, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Purview, Priva, everything that sits in that stack, to the management layer and endpoint security, to how folks are collaborating and the policies that are available there to make sure that folks are secure and they can still be productive, right? There's this balance between, yes, we want to be secure, we also want people to be productive. And everything that's in the Microsoft 365 suite is going to give you a 35% reduction in likely data breach, right? So in the likelihood of a data breach, you're going to have 35% reduction. That is according to a Forrester study that was commissioned by Microsoft. Additionally, that's $1.2 million in reduced risk. So let's look at what this looks like in action, okay? So I'm going to go through a day in the life of someone who is either having the worst day of their life or they are just simply the least secure employee that you have ever met. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, credentials are found on the dark web. So he's trying to log in and it's telling him, you need to tell me who you are and you need to change your password. Enter identity protection that ensures the integrity of your end user sign-on. And then they're using single service password reset. In order to get that done, it's a relatively seamless experience, easy experience for your employee, and it's very easy to support. Then at 9:15, he's trying to upload a file that contains sensitive information that is blocked or that is automatically tagged by Microsoft Information Protection. So it can automatically identify and tag sensitive information. So if you have a confidential project that is going on, if that word is mentioned in that document, it will tell you, don't save it here, don't save it somewhere where you can share it externally, and it will stop them from potentially leaking data. And what we are going to talk about lastly on this call is about how Microsoft 365 E5 is going to help you prepare for the future of generative AI, in particular Microsoft 365 Copilot. E5 really does a great job of preparing your environment for Microsoft 365 Copilot. And it is through controls like this one, right? There's a lot of concern about, if my folks are using generative AI, are they being exposed to information, or are they seeing information that perhaps they should not? Having the right controls in place through information protection is one really good way. It's included with E5 and it's automatically done for you and for your end users as well, to make sure that the information that your employees should be seeing is what's being surfaced. So then at 10:30, he's trying to upload a credit card number. Maybe he is buying flowers for someone, or his assistant is buying flowers, and he puts that credit card information. Or maybe he's just sharing it with on behalf of a client. He's not going to be able to do that through data loss prevention policies that block sensitive data being shared within Teams. At noon, he's got a phishing attempt that's automatically been blocked, right? So he doesn't even know. This, to me, is probably one of the areas where organizations are spending money, perhaps on another solution, where in Microsoft 365, it takes care of these things automatically. It's built into Microsoft 365 E5, so that is some hard cost savings that you can eliminate by eliminating a redundant solution. And that is all through Defender for Office that manages safe links, it manages safe attachments, anti-phishing, anti-malware policies. And then at 3 p.m., he's trying to provide a client with a large file via a USB device, right? And you may or may not want that in your organization. He's forced to encrypt that, though. So in this policy, he's forced to encrypt that. That is done through Defender for Endpoint and BitLocker to Go. That's automatically required of him so that he can share these things a little bit more securely. Lastly, at 7 o'clock, he goes home, he gets on his home computer, and he tries to download sensitive content from SharePoint onto his own device. It will stop him from doing that, and that's Defender for Cloud Apps that will help identify that content and then say, you cannot bring this outside of the browser, you cannot download this outside of the client's or outside of the company's environment. So next, let's talk about simplified endpoint management. There is a lot of cost savings. There are a lot of opportunities to be more efficient, to allow employees to be more productive that sit within the endpoint management solutions in E5. So whether that is from Windows 11 Enterprise to the deployment and management solutions that are in Autopilot, Intune, AutoPatch, you can improve support, reduce incidents through endpoint analytics, universal print, organizational messages, all of that, right? So that comes with Microsoft 365 E5, but a lot of organizations are still doing it the old way. They might have a standalone solution to manage their environment. They might still be using SCCM, but in either case, the legacy device management process, it's complex. It creates complex environments. It is really resource and task intensive. It requires a lot of administrators to be working on that. In a lot of cases, clients are managing number of images, right? We've had clients that are managing 200 and 300 images at a time. That's a lot of work. It's Windows only. You have to be domain joined in order to get the right updates. So they have to be in the office. There's limited support remotely. Patches are hard to maintain. And then from an employee experience, you don't get the device of choice, right? So if you wanted to use a Mac, you can't use a Mac. And our experience, because we help a lot of clients with these processes, is that it takes an average of up to 22 days to receive a device from the time that the employee might need to order a new device to the time that they actually receive it. It can be up to 22 days. That's a lot, right? The setup is on premises, so they need to be in the office. Support services are required, so they can't just log in and have everything that they need. A lot of times they're requiring support. And then if we look at the modern way of doing this, everything is done via the cloud. Simplified device and app management. Everything is through conditional access. It's secure and controlled. Identity is what's driving everything that is on that device. Any device from anywhere on any operating system. There's no image that needs to be maintained. It can be either company owned or bring your own device. It's supported, again, wherever they are at, automatically patched. And when our clients are using Intune, Autopilot for provisioning, and then our white glove services, we get that down to 3 days from the time that an employee needs a new device until the time that they actually receive it. And then when they get it, they open it up, enter their credentials, and it's ready to go. Little to no support from your service desk would be needed for new devices. And that all equals a pretty significant cost savings, right? Again, here's another total economic impact study. 23% reduced spending on employee devices, because these things would be provided just in time. Reduced time spent deploying and managing new software. Again, if you're not managing images and application packaging and all of that, there's definitely some time savings, some complexity savings. Decreased endpoint configuration times, that's that 22 days down to 3 days. And then 15% on the service desk tickets that are being logged because of devices and device management. And if we look at our own services here at Insight, we've been able to take the legacy device management, which is about $20 per user per month on average, is what we have found, all the way down to $13 when you combine our services for Microsoft Modern Management, and then our white glove Autopilot services as well. And this is the one that will allow your employees to receive a device, open it up, and use it, right? It just works. The things that we expect as a consumer for us to be able to just open up the box to any piece of technology and it works. Now you can also have that with your corporate device as well. All right, so lastly, productivity and collaboration. There is a lot that is in that productivity and collaboration suite. So Microsoft 365 productivity applications, formerly Microsoft Office. There's a lot that is in there that if your employees are unaware of, they're not taking advantage of, you haven't had adoption exercises, you're not encouraging them to use everything that's there, that you are missing out on from a productivity perspective. And beyond that, Microsoft 365 E5 and Microsoft Viva and Microsoft Teams is really preparing your organization for digital life, right? It used to be that we'd go into an office, everybody around us was doing the same thing. If we had a question, we could ask them right there. We were working on maybe 2 line of business applications and we had email, right? For those of us that remember a time when this was a thing. And now the average employee has access to over 30 apps, right? And they're using 13 on a regular basis. So these are a lot of opportunities for employees to not be able to find the information they need, not have the training, not be able to connect to the people that they need. And everything that is in Microsoft 365 E5, and when you combine that with Microsoft Viva, is meant for the new digital way of working. And that is this idea of the work hub, right? So one place to go centered around teams. And it's everything from their productivity applications, email, chat, mobile messaging, all of that, to ERP, CRM systems, line of business applications that are a seamless experience because you have connected them through single sign-on. And then the things that we consider to be more kind of the traditional employee experience apps that you would think of, right? So really what makes this hub for work possible is Teams combined with Microsoft Viva, which focuses on connecting employees, getting them the information that they need when they need it, connecting to other employees and subject matter experts, giving them purpose in your organization, providing your leadership with insights and information so that they can make the right decisions that are based on employee experience, that contribute to well-being and satisfaction, and then making sure that your employees can grow, right? Giving them the tools that they need to learn, encouraging them to learn in a way that is relatively seamless and kind of sits again in that nice space. So I'm going to show you just a brief video here on Microsoft Viva that talks a little bit about what this will look like for your employees.
Bring everything together to keep you in the flow, to keep you connected, all in one place. The key to getting things done starts with making things more efficient and easy to find. Employees are more effective when they don't need to spend valuable time searching for communications and resources across multiple systems. With Microsoft Viva Connections, employees can find news, conversations, and resources, everything they need to do their jobs well, all in one place. For employees, hunting around for what they need to do their jobs is difficult and unproductive. Easy access to job insights, tasks like requesting time off, accessing company benefits, or providing feedback is a must. The best way to keep employees in the flow of work is having a one-stop shop, a centralized dashboard where they can access whatever they need and use every day to do their jobs. From time to time, everyone has had difficulty accessing HR resources. Employees don't have time to flip through endless sites or pages of the employee handbook to find answers. With a broad ecosystem of partners, you can easily add cards to the dashboard to connect to your existing systems like Workday, ServiceNow, Limeade, and many more. You can provide a direct link to any HR-related resources that employees need, like their healthcare options, 401k, and other company benefits, whenever they need it. For example, they can easily request time off and log it in the system when they return. With Viva Connections, employees can stay informed and engaged with a personalized feed to know what's happening at work without looking through multiple apps and websites. Whether they're at the office or out and about, Microsoft Viva Connections can help employees find news and resources. Viva Connections can keep employees up to date and connected to content and conversations from across the company. They can view communications that are relevant to them, everything they need to do their job well, all in one place. Microsoft Viva Connections.
So everything that you saw is included in the Microsoft Viva Suite, but there are pieces of the Viva Suite that are included in E5 today. So this is everything, right? So this is the paid version is what you see, everything here, but there are pieces of Viva Connections, the entirety of Viva Engage, which used to be Yammer, but it has been made much more useful and integrated with everything else that is in the productivity suite to kind of connect your employees in a more useful way than perhaps Yammer was sitting out in another, site on another browser. And then Viva Insights. There is personal insights that is included with your E5 license as well, and then pieces of Viva Learning. So there is a lot here to go through. So I'm not going to spend time on this, just to say that if you have any interest in this new kind of digital hub, new way of working, Insight would love to have a conversation with you about that. We'd love to guide clients in that direction. And if we're wrapping all of this up, right, going back to that 60% cost savings, and that comes from, again, reduction in the likelihood of a data breach. You're cutting spending on employee devices and how you're managing those devices. You're cutting time on how you're managing, deploying software, endpoint configuration times. Again, remember I said that in that modern management, modern endpoint space, there's a lot. If you notice, it's spending on devices, time deploying, configuration time, help desk tickets, a lot of it sits right there. So if you wanted to have that conversation with us, we'd love that one too. That's what we're really, really good at. Cut time on travel and expenses through, using the tools that are provided in the productivity suite in the right way. And then improvements in end user productivity because you've got one place to go instead of 50, right? And you're connecting to the right people. Now, in addition to the cost savings, very exciting. Microsoft 365 E5 is preparing for the future of generative AI. And if you are not aware of what Microsoft 365 Copilot is it is the kind of power of all of the new generative AI platform solutions, GPT, brought into Microsoft 365. And that is through a large language model, your graph data. So the Microsoft Graph, if you're not aware of what that is a place where everything gets recorded that goes on in Microsoft 365. So whether that's the files that are being uploaded, to policies being set, chats, emails, phone calls, meetings, all of that gets recorded in the Microsoft Graph. It's being married with the LLM apps and the graph data to provide a way for your end users to be more productive, to give your end users a co-pilot throughout their day to help them do their jobs. I like to say that it is an AI assistant. If you have been hearing about Copilot, there are lots of Copilots out there, right? So I'm going to take just a minute to describe what is here. What you see with Bing Chat Enterprise and Windows 11 is included with your licensing today. So Bing Chat Enterprise is ChatGPT, but secure, right? So there's a concern that if you are using GPT solutions, if you're going out to OpenAI and using ChatGPT or whatever it is, that your employees could potentially put data out there that you do not want into the public data going into the public LLM. Bing Chat Enterprise takes that risk out of it and makes sure that anything that your employees input, anything that your employees are requesting from Bing Chat Enterprise, which again is just another GPT solution, that it stays within your environment. As soon as they ask it, the information goes away. So that is available to you today. It is a really good place to start if you want to introduce your employees to generative AI. It's a great, secure way to start. Windows 11, if you, depending on what update channel you're on, you might have actually already seen this in your operating system when you log in. It is an assistant, again, Copilot, within Windows that will help you with the operating system, but then it also helps you with things that like generating content, things like that that are built into Bing Chat Enterprise. So it's a little bit of a combination of the two. What we're talking about when we say Microsoft 365 Copilot is what you see in this little box here with the PowerPoint, Word, Outlook, all of that is Microsoft 365 Copilot. And when I say an assistant, right, it will do things like take meeting notes for you, right? It takes the transcripts, you feed it that information, and then from there, it will provide you with a summary of the meeting. It'll provide you a summary of action items and information automatically. It will help you summarize emails, long email strings, and provide you with a means for generating content within Microsoft Word. So if you wanted it to help you create a document, if you wanted it to help you to create a presentation based on another document, you can do that as well within PowerPoint. So again, it acts as an assistant in Microsoft 365. There are also functions in Viva. There are functions in Loop. So there's a lot going on in Microsoft 365 Copilot. Power Platform also has its own Copilot. Using GPT-4, it's not quite released yet. It is in preview. But you do have Copilot functions in there today using previous versions, GPT-3, 3.5. So that is available to you. And then underneath that are all of the other Copilot solutions. I'm sure that I'm missing those things there, but you will see from Insight, from us, information, webinars, content, all of that about all of these other Copilot solutions, which again are meant to assist your employees, to give your employees assistance in each of these areas. And I promised you that I was going to tell you why Microsoft 365 E5 sets the foundation. So we talked a little bit about how E5 security is going to kind of alleviate some of those concerns that you have about how your folks are surfacing information and content, right? So that the information that you want them to see, just because these things are security trim, which they are, right? So your employees are not going to see anything that they have access to. They don't have access to. But that doesn't mean that they have access to stuff that they shouldn't be seeing, right? How many of us know everything that we have access to, especially when you have employees in your environment who are creating sharing links, right, that are open to everyone. So Microsoft 365 E5 really gives you the tools that you need to identify all of that. So that Zero Trust Foundation in Microsoft 365 E5 is going to help you get there, even more quickly, more securely. It'll give you a head start above just E3. All of that said, as well, it's worthwhile to mention that right now you have to have an enterprise agreement and you have to have Microsoft 365 E3 or greater in order to get the licensing. Content ecosystem within Microsoft 365 definitely supports Microsoft 365 Copilot. And that's everything from how these things are connected together. I can talk for a very long time about the about how these things are working in the background. Again, look for more webinars. In fact, I think we might even have one scheduled here coming up to talk about how these things work. And that's where that semantic index comes from. It's very interesting stuff. At least if you're me, this is very interesting stuff. So I'm excited about being able to talk about that as well. And then lastly, you need a way for your folks to be able to adopt generative AI in a way that is responsible, in a way that is secure. And the way to do that is to make sure that you have the right pieces in place to engage them, to train them, to encourage them to use it, to connect them to other people who are using it in particular ways, because use cases, understanding what those use cases are very important. So again, Microsoft 365 E5 has all of those nice productivity apps in there. And combined with Viva, the pieces that are even just included with E5, not necessarily the suite, but the pieces that are included with E5 are going to help lay that foundation. So we talked about a lot of stuff today, right? If you're interested in having a strategy session to talk about anything that is here, certainly scan that QR code. We'd love to talk to you. You might even, be able to get me in one of those conversations as well, if you really wanted to. But all of that said, thank you very much for joining. I appreciate your time. And I'm going to hand this back because I think we've got a couple more items to wrap up before we're done. Thank you.
If you have any questions or would like additional information, please visit our website, solutions.insight.com.